What's up, folks? Sean the Average Hanger coming at you from the shop, garage, house again with another great video. This time we are going to be going over some riggings of a very popular bait in the Geecrack Bellows Gill. This particular one happens to be a 3.8. Come in some great colors, very popular bait, and it can be fished so many different ways. So we're going to go over some of those today. If you're new to the channel, like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button right over there. Become part of the community. We really appreciate it and enjoy having you here. Riggings. Like I said, there is a myriad of riggings we could do with this bait. And one I want to show you first is a very interesting one, and it will require what we call the Nico hack. Okay, you'll want the size large, and this doesn't just go for this bait. This goes for a lot of the baits that are this style. And you're going to put it in between the ribs. We're going to push that baby through there. And on this side, you'll see there's two little spikes. So we're just going to open those two ribs up, and we are going to push that down in there. And those spikes are going to dig into the plastic like so. And then they'll hold it. And then you'll have this piece sticking out the top here. You just take your cutters, and you want to pay attention where you're cutting, because down in here there is a hole for your hook to go in, and it narrows just above that. You just snip it off, and there you go. Now you can use all kinds of different hooks for this. In this case, I am going to use a owner weedless jungle hook. Okay. Now you can use like this style hook. You can use a hook that you would use for a Nico rig. And we are just going to go in here and run that right through the hole. I'll show you here in a second. Of that Nico hack, like so. And then it's in there, right? Okay, you might think I had this rig backwards. We're going to do something else with this, because we are turning this into a Nico rig. We're going to take this weight here, and this one's pretty heavy. You don't have to go this heavy. You can use just a nail weight, something like this one here. Okay, this is 0.9 grams, fairly light. Either one you choose, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to run it in the middle there and push that baby in there. Okay, now what we have is a bait that's going to spiral like so. And as you can imagine, just based on seeing how that little tail moves, you're going to have a lot of action. These ribs are going to slow the fall, move a lot of water, and attract a lot of tension from hungry bass. This is a special one I really happen to like. But that's not all. There's a whole lot, like I said, you can do with this. Now, the one that worked for me when I was up at Clearlake is this here. Okay, your standard Texas style rig, and I fished that on a Carolina rig. I was fishing some deeper points. It gave me the opportunity to get the bait down there. But then the last 3 feet, which was my leader length, that bait would start to fall weightless. Okay, I caught a 9.3 on that during practice. Unfortunately, did not happen again in the tournament, but that is another great way to fish the bait. Now, while we're here with a Texas rig, we could also flip this bait. Now, I don't recommend going too heavy. And this isn't something that's going to pull through heavy weeds real easy. This is more something to throw around wood or clean banks, docks, humps, points, those types of things. Typically, I'm going to use a 1/4 to 3/8 up to a half. most of the time I'm going to go with that quarter, and I'm going to peg it because I want to pull that thing down, but it is going to slow the fall, and that tail is going to have a lot of movement back. You see how easy it wiggles. That's another great way to fish this bait. Now I need to find by the way, that hook is a 3/0 EWG BKK worm hook. Okay, right here. Now you can use Gamakatsu, whatever you want, but I suggest EWG just to have a little extra bite there, because even though this plastic's very soft, it's still a little bulky. Now, that said, you will hook up with the regular worm hook. Now, next, we have a flashy swimmer. Now, this isn't necessarily the right size flashy swimmer. Again, you'll want to use the 3/0 size, because the further we keep that hook forward, the better action we're going to get. With that in mind, we also don't want to hamper our hookup ratio by going too small. So we'll see. This might actually be okay. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, it came out right there. There's still plenty of movement back there. I think I would prefer a little shorter. The further forward it is, the more action you're going to get from the bait. Now, that said, on this method, you're going to get plenty of action, right? We've got the blade down here. You could do this with or without the blade. And then the way I like to fish this is get it down to bottom and just kind of slowly swim it over the bottom so that you feel it bumping stuff every now and then, okay? That is another great way to fish the Bellows Gill. And the list goes on. Okay, so a couple of other ways we can fish the Bellows Gill. Very popular way, very, very effective way, by the way, is to throw it on a free rig. So grab our weight here, the free rig weight, put it on the line, tie it to your bait so that that weight slides back and forth, and you got yourself a free rig, and you got yourself a great bait to throw it on. Okay, the other rig I was thinking of is, I believe, called a Jica rig, where it's the hook and then has the weight attached here, right? Very similar to some others. Another effective way that sometimes works very, very well, especially when you have stuff like smaller rock bank, those kinds of things. That's a real effective rig. And last but not least, and look, this really isn't probably last, you can fish this a ton of different ways. You could fish it weightless just like that. But that's not what I was thinking. I was actually thinking of the drop shot. Now you can get a drop shot hook. I don't have one handy here, so we're going to use this hook and pretend this is a smaller nose hook. And voila, you got yourself a drop shot. Now, I do want to say that on a rig like this, sometimes that 2.8 might be better, but if you need the bigger profile of the 3.8, this will definitely work. The thing is, you're probably going to go through some baits, okay? My guess is these are going to rip, and we're going to lose some baits fighting the fish back to the boat. But the key thing is we're getting bit. We can drop shot this bait. You can drop shot it either way if you want to. If you do it standing up like so, then you essentially have a bait as you move it that's going to be kind of like a bluegill profile. If you do it flat, still be a bluegill profile, but it's going to move in a different way. Most of the time I would prefer to use that Jica rig because that's made to do that. The drop shot, a little better for the nose hook with the 2.8 size. If you need the profile, you can go to the bigger one. The 5.8, by the way, mostly all I'm going to use it for is to flip. It's a great bait for flipping. And by the way, if you didn't know, these smell like corn chips. Who doesn't want to eat corn chips? All right, I'm Sean, the Average Angler. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you. We'll see you on the next one.